Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, and thank you so much for tuning in. Today I had the unique experience to be able to sit down with one of the biggest names in the EMS community, owner and operator of EMSUniverse.co. His name is Brian. He's an EMT from New Jersey. He's father to one, has a beautiful girlfriend, loves to ride on his motorcycle, and I know a lot of you guys can relate with this, but he's also an avid gamer. So Brian created one of the most well-known Instagram pages out there for EMS, where he allows people from all over the world to come together and submit their photos to be featured on his Instagram page. He has over 75,000 followers and has made it his personal mission to unite EMS and to bring us together from all over the world. So please help me welcome to my channel, Brian from EMS Universe. Well, hey there, Brian. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. Definitely been wanting to have you on the channel for quite a while. For those of you guys who don't know, Brian and I met a while back, probably 2 years ago now. I got a message from you. You had found me through one of my Medication Monday videos.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
And so we've kind of partnered up and just offered some free education on Brian's IGTV. I remember whenever you reached out to me, I only had probably a couple hundred followers, and just kind of getting my feet wet in EMS education definitely meant the world to me. I'd say you helped me kind of get my start online with EMS education, which I appreciate. So yeah, just to get everything started, let's talk about how you got involved with EMS and what's gotten you to this point.
Sure. So I've been in EMS about 21 years now. I started very young in the volunteer world in EMS. My whole family was in EMS. So basically I was born into it. There's 6 of us in my family, and all 6 of us were in EMS in some way, shape, or form. I guess you could say there was no way of avoiding it. So, I joined when it was time, and I fell in love with it. Over my 21 years, I've spent time on the paid side. I've spent time on the volunteer side. I've spent time on the education side. And, it's just something I can't get away from at this point.
You had no choice.
Yeah, exactly.
I hear that a lot. I hear people say, my dad was an EMT or my mom was in fire. And I think that's really cool because I don't have any first responders in my immediate family. So a lot of times it's a world that maybe just isn't easy to understand. So really cool that you came from a whole family of it.
Yeah, it's definitely a very different occupation, so to speak. So for people that don't have first responder history in their families, it's not going to be as common for them to start up in it. So it's even more appreciated when someone comes from a history that doesn't have first responder in it.
Yeah, I definitely say so. So are you still obviously you run an entire website dedicated to EMS, but are you still on the volunteer side or the paid side or both?
I'm not active in the education side or the paid side at this point, but I am still active on the volunteer side. As of right now, I'm a second in command within my department. So, I do have my hands fairly full with that.
Yeah, I'd say so. So is it a fire department or is it strictly, I know every state does it differently. So is it strictly EMS?
Here it's strictly EMS. Yeah, the fire department is separate.
Oh, okay. Do you mind telling us where you're based out of?
I'm in New Jersey.
Okay. All right. So with all that being said about your background, let's get into what everybody wants to know, and that is about how EMS Universe started. What gave you the idea behind it, and what was your ultimate goal when you first began?
Sure. EMS Universe has been around for about 5.5, 6 years now. I started in 2015, and that was kind of when Instagram was getting big and making moves and stuff. And going on to Instagram, I would come across fire department pages all the time. I'd come across fire department support, fire this, fire that. Everything was fire. And I was talking to one of my buddies. I won't name him. He doesn't want any fame in it, but he knows who he is. And I said, EMS needs a page like that. EMS needs a page where they can go and they can celebrate themselves. They can celebrate EMS without judgment, without any negativity. Post what they want within reason. And there was a lot of hesitation on my side because I was like, well, I don't know, it won't really take off. We all know EMS is like a fickle little family. Will it take off? Will it do well? I have no idea. So I started it out, and I just kind of put it out there. I started putting out my own posts saying, if you're interested, send me a picture and I'll post it for you. And before I knew it, I had 10,000 followers, and it just kind of kept kept growing naturally from there. And it really, I think, became something that people come to depend upon. They come to my page for support. They come to my page for people to look up to them, to get advice, to gain educational experience. There's many different aspects that my page offers now. And throughout the years, I said, well, I have to do more than just post pictures. That's really all I was doing. So I started the website with actually this shirt that I'm wearing now. That's what started my whole website for me. I started that as a way to kind of bring a lighter side to EMS. Obviously this is just a joke. If you say that to your patient, then maybe you shouldn't be on an ambulance. I started that with stickers and t-shirts and all of that kind of stuff. And I don't know, I still felt like that wasn't enough. I needed to do more. That was about the time that I started reaching out to other people, such as yourself, to kind of grow the audience, give them more entertainment so that they could have more information. And then a little while after that, I started bringing on other products from smaller, I don't want to say smaller companies because they're probably bigger than me, but smaller Instagram pages. I started partnering with them and bringing their products to my page and growing their audiences for them. And so that has really been doing well. And so now I'm doing the t-shirts and the patches and the stickers, and I have 3 or 4 other partners that I'm working with on the website as well, along with you, giving the free medication Mondays every week. But even that didn't feel like enough. Didn't feel like I was doing enough, because now I'm taking money from a very underpaid occupation. I said I have to do more than that. So all the profits that I get go back into my audience in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if you saw, but for EMS week, I gave away over $800 worth of stuff.
You've done it a few years in a row, right?
Yeah. Yep, I do that. I do an EMS week giveaway every year, but it's usually $300 or $400. But the support has really been there with the sales, and I have been able to afford that. This year was actually a really good year, even though we had COVID and all of those things. But I was able to give away a pair of Raptor shears. I was able to give away a Littman stethoscope. I gave away an Apple Watch, countless T-shirts and patches and stickers. And I'm not here for the money. That's not why I'm here. Obviously money's great, but I'm here for the support of EMS. EMS is one of those funny little first responder niches that for some reason doesn't receive support. So if my little bit of giving back helps somebody, helps them have a better day, helps them to strive a little bit further into their career, that's what I'm really here for at this point.
No, I definitely saw that giveaway this year, and I thought it was really good and positive, because after the year that EMS and really the entire world had, it was definitely something positive and a great way to give back. Like I said, I've seen you do it multiple years in a row, and there are other EMS professionals online that do the same thing and just focus on giving back. And that's part of the reason that I asked you to come on today, because I think a lot of times we don't celebrate the people who show up for EMS in a positive light. And, it can become kind of a dark, negative, dismal environment if you let it. And I think we celebrate kind of the salty medic mentality a little too much. I mean, of course, there's some funny memes out there that all of us can relate to, but it can get a little negative. So you definitely showed up in a positive way for sure. So the way EMS Universe works on Instagram, do they send in a submission, or how do they do that?
Yeah, all they have to do is send me a direct message with the picture and a caption if they want, and I'll post the picture and then I'll post the caption. And if they want it posted anonymously, they don't want to be tagged to it, or whatever the case may be, then I won't tag them in it. But otherwise I tag them and I give them full credit for everything, because again, it's not about me, it's about them. So I'm really just the outlet, the source for them. And
do you get a lot of those submissions, like too many, or are you able to actually post all of them?
It seems to come in waves. I'll wake up one morning and I'll have 38 messages in my inbox. And there's other days where I don't get any messages for a couple of days. But because of the volume that I receive, I have to space out my features. I may be 24 to 48 hours behind on the messages, but I do get to everyone and I do respond to everyone.
And Brian, you do all that for free, right? You don't have a fee that somebody has to pay in order to have a submission?
No. Nope. Awesome. Everyone is 100% free.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I think too, I thought it was really good that you brought up that you had volunteer affiliation, because a lot of times volunteers get overlooked, I think, in EMS, and the importance of them. I think we have 2 local volunteer fire departments, and gosh, they help us so much when it comes to calls, setting up landing zones for, our emergent patients that we may get that are out in a rural part of the state. And I mean, I couldn't be more thankful for them, but I think it came to light for me whenever I went to an EMS conference. It was about, I'd say 2.5 years ago. And I realized that the majority of the people who had actually paid to be at that conference, which wasn't cheap, were volunteers. I mean, these people don't get paid. They do it for the love of the job. I think it's inspiring, to be honest. But what do you think is like a common misconception about our volunteers, fire or EMS, or both?
Probably one of the biggest is lack of education or lacking the ability to take it seriously. Those are probably the 2 biggest concerns that I've seen. I run into people all the time. Oh, you're just a volley. You're just a volley. This is your hobby. It's not really a hobby. It's become a way of life for me. This is when I get out of work. This is what I do. That's pretty much all I know.
Yeah.
And being a volunteer doesn't mean that we go through less training. We go through the same amount of training. We have to keep up with the same CEUs, and we have to keep up with the same elective classes. And, all of the training is still the same. So the education side, it's not really much of an argument either.
Yeah, and I'd say to that point, a lot of times our volunteer departments may not have the funds to pay for their members to go through EMT class or firefighter 1, firefighter 2, and it comes out of their own pocket. And like I said, same thing with conferences or any kind of training that they're taking to better themselves. And I mean, that was part of the reason that I did what I did when I first started my channel. Is when I was in medic school, I didn't see a lot of free online resources to tap into, and
right.
kind of just get a little help. I'm not talking like the full course, but just some short 3 to 5 minute videos breaking down information.
Yeah, that's an important thing to have, because as spending time in EMS, gaining bits of information and education and things like that it's very hard to do. You often find that people don't want to share information. They don't want to help you out. They don't want to take the time to help you get through, what section of my ABCs does this fall into? They don't want to help you with those types of things. People like you that put that information out there for them are huge. And that's only going to help the community see that education needs to happen. We need to speak to each other. We need to support each other, because if we're not learning, we're not growing. And if we're not growing, we really shouldn't be in EMS.
I mean, medicine is always changing. And if you're not up for studying and researching and taking the initiative to find out answers on your own, I don't know if you'll be as good of a provider as possible,
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I've always taught my students was the day that you stop learning is the day that you should retire. If you feel that you have learned everything that you need to know, then you should retire, because EMS is ever changing. Medicine is ever changing. Me, myself, I've been in EMS for 21 years. I've worked alongside emergency physicians. I've worked alongside paramedics. I've worked alongside nurses. And I can tell you that there isn't one time that I didn't learn something, even something small from the patient. I learned a piece of information, and you have to keep your mind open to be able to take that information in. And if your mind is closed, you're not going to learn. And if you're not willing to learn, maybe it's time to hang up your EMS hat.
And to be honest with you, sometimes there's no shame in that, because you definitely run into some people who may have been burnt out on the field, and that's okay, because honestly, this field isn't the easiest to be in for, like you said, 21 years. Imagine if you were on the ambulance every day, 21 years, that's a lot. So there's no shame in hanging up your hat when it's time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a benefit to you, and it's a benefit to any future patients that you could run into.
And I always say too, I mean, there's always a way to be involved with EMS, and it may not necessarily be on the truck. I mean, there's different capacities you can give back and participate in EMS, whether it be through education or And I think I have a video on my channel where I go into all the different ways you could use your EMS license other than the traditional way. I don't think people realize there are tons of ways to give back in this field for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even from the administrative side, there needs to be people that handle the paperwork. There needs to be people that are in the office handling phone calls and all of those types of things. And education is huge. EMS education is never going anywhere. So if it has come time for you to leave the truck, go into the classroom. It's a perfect place to be.
Absolutely. And those students can benefit from stories or calls or whatever that you've gained over the years. Somebody told me one time when I was in medic school that learning from your own experience is great, but if you actually listen to your teachers and other people who have gone on other calls, it's even better, because when you are faced with that experience, you kind of know more or less, okay, I've been told how this goes, and I can approach it this way or approach it that way. And
yeah, I completely agree with that. One of the ways that I came through EMS education was taking bits and pieces of information from everyone and kind of developing my own way of doing things with, a little bit from here, a little bit from there. To someone reading from the book, my assessment may seem like it's all over the place, but it's that way because it makes sense to me. And that's not something you're going to learn from a book.
No, for sure. And I think too, what you said is, watching other people, how they do their assessments, how they speak with their patients, how they speak to their coworkers, how they treat others. I know when I went through my paramedic internship, I was really lucky because I got placed in a department where it was primarily paramedics. So I got to really see everybody's style. And there were some things that I didn't like about maybe the way that they spoke to people or something like that. And I just remembered, okay, I'm not going to do that when I become a paramedic. Or if I catch myself doing that, I want to put a stop to it. And vice versa. There were so many positive things that I picked up, and it was just stepping back and watching people and their habits.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best ways to learn is to watch it actually happen on the streets. And like you said, you'll find ways that you don't like and ways and things to avoid, but you'll find every piece of how you do things on the streets.
For sure. So you've kind of given us a background on EMS Universe and how it got started and more or less what it's about. But what are the types of things that you offer? I know there are products that you've mentioned, and I know you have some new stuff too. So I want you to talk about that as well.
Yeah. So we'll start off with one of my new stickers that I just released. We all know that holding the wall is one of the most hated things in EMS.
Right.
But it does happen. We can't avoid it. So you might as well have fun with it. I have that in t-shirt form as well.
Okay. Oh, I like the black.
Yeah. I have it in multiple different colors. It comes in blue, navy, white, gray, black, red. But aside from the stickers, shirts, and patches, those three things are all made by me. I design them all. The t-shirts I actually make myself. The stickers and patches I have somebody make for me, but I design them all myself. But other than that, I'm partnered with people who have written books. So I'm partnered with, on Instagram, she's GBU Paramedic. It's books about the good, the bad, and the ugly in being a paramedic. Those are great books. They're all about how the public perceives you based on how you display yourself. Great books, great educational tools. Pass with Pass, I partner with them. They have study guides for anything from an EMR all the way up to paramedic level. They're now certified in CEUs, so that's great. I'm also partnered with Paramedic Coach, great guy. He gives out some great information. On a similar level to what you do. He's out there all the time offering free information, but I also have his study guides on my website. I have a page that's over on Facebook that's all about supporting EMS. They are, it's called Just a Buck EMS Edition. So what they do is every week they select one EMS provider, emergency service provider, and for that week they're the weekly honoree, and then everyone in the group donates $1 to that person through Venmo, and that donation turns into their eligibility for the next week so that they could become the next week's winner. It's a smaller page right now, but it's, again, EMS support and something that needs to grow huge and become big. They have a nurses page that does something similar, and they have over 50,000 members. Each week, the weekly honoree receives roughly $40,000, $35,000, $40,000.
Holy moly.
Yeah. So the field medics, can't forget about the field medics. Those
Mhm.
guys are on my page as well. They have, I have one book with them. They do have 2 books out. That's great information as well. Some other great people I have on there are the student paramedics. They have reference cards. So it's just a quick little pocket guide that runs you through your assessment and, things like that. I also have my MedEquip. Those guys are great. They're based out of Australia. So what I do for them is basically provide them a local source to ship their materials out. They have a reference book. It's a much bigger than the reference cards. It's they call it clinical cheats. So that gives you insights into everything. I have a lot of stuff on there. Really, the best way to go through it is to just go through it.
What is the site?
It's www.emsuniverse.co.
Yeah, definitely encourage everybody to go check that out because it is hard to remember everything you have on your site. You do have quite a bit and you've grown so much since even we just met. It's pretty impressive everything that you've built over the years and the idea that went behind it. I say it all the time. When I was in medic school, I would Google or YouTube search people going through medic school. I found nothing. But if you did the same thing for nursing school, oh my gosh, the amount of resources and people that you could find. I mean, people going through nursing school could relate to. And that's what I hope one day will be available for people going through EMT or medic school. And I think one of the first steps is doing what you're doing, which is just kind of trying to unite us all and bring us all together.
Yeah, we can't do anything unless we're all a family. And we are kind of the pioneers in this aspect. If you think about it, EMS is the baby of first responders. Medicine has been around a long time. Fire department has been around a long time. Police department has been around a long time. All of them a lot longer than EMS. It kind of needs to be pioneered by someone to grow it forward and to get that information out there. And in today's day where we have technology at our fingertips, it just makes sense to get it out there.
I think the internet and Instagram, I mean, heck, even TikTok, you can learn so much on something as silly as TikTok has really brought, people of this field and all kinds of other fields together in short video format, long video format, just a lot of information out there. Not all of it the best, but some of it can be very, very educational, can definitely be used in a positive way, which is what you're doing. I really, really appreciate the opportunity to be featured every week on your Instagram and also just what you're doing as a whole for the EMS community.
Well, thank you very much. If it wasn't for people like you, my page wouldn't grow to what it is. The basis of my page, like I've said, is the community as a whole. So if the community as a whole doesn't come together, then my page doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one time I heard you say something about it doesn't matter the language or the area of the world, like we all do the same job, essentially. It does make a family-like environment, which is pretty cool. But anyway, Brian, thank you so much for coming on the channel and sitting down and chit-chatting with me. And I definitely encourage everybody to go check him out on EMS Universe on Instagram. Do you have a TikTok yet?
No, that's the one thing I haven't opened up yet.
But you are on Facebook. You even have a YouTube channel, right?
Yes, I have a very small YouTube channel, but it is there.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I definitely encourage everybody to go there. And like you said, emsuniverse.co and check out all the cool products and programs and all of that stuff that you have to offer. So thanks again. I hope we can do this again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again, Stacy, for having me on.
Yes, sir.